What if a building could confess its sins? What if a fortress, at the very moment of its death, decided to tell its story? Well, today, we're diving into a powerful parable just like that, a confession from a once proud structure revealing the anatomy of its own spectacular fall. And right from the jump, we get this incredible, mind-bending idea. The Abbey forces us to question everything. As it says, "My walls were not the trap, but the trapped." Just think about that for a second. The central theme is laid bare. The prison wasn't for the people inside. The prison was the walls themselves. So how in the world did it get to this point? Well, the first part of our story introduces us to the Abbey's character, and more importantly, its fatal flaw. We meet it as this narcissistic warden, totally consumed by a prideful, almost desperate attempt to wall itself off from reality. And this is where things get really twisted, right? The Abbey calls itself a gilded cage, a fortress built entirely on a will to hide. You see, all that visual splendor, all that beauty, it wasn't a sign of life. It was a symptom of a deep, deep sickness, a nauseating tumor of the spirit. It was only beautiful because it was absolutely terrified of the truth. The Abbey then starts to describe its own body, and let me tell you, it's not stone and wood. It's a living, breathing anatomy of narcissism. The 7 rooms, they're a digestive tract for birth and growth. The windowless corridors, they're just a mirror for its own internal nihilism. The iron gates are like teeth, guarding a completely hollow reality. And at the very heart of it all, that ebony clock provides the arrogant, defiant heartbeat. You know, you can't build a wall high enough to keep out reality forever. Every fortress that's built on a lie, well, it eventually faces a truth it just cannot ignore. And that's where our story turns. An uninvited guest arrives, an entity that you can't control, you can't contain, and you certainly can't reason with. The whole carefully constructed world is about to be shattered. And that force? Oh, it has a name. The Red Death. It's presented not just as some plague, but as an absolute, an unstoppable void approaching the gates. It is the physical manifestation of the one thing the Abbey has been so desperately trying to keep out, reality itself. So you have this final showdown, but it's not really a fair fight, is it? On one side, you've got Prince Prospero's defiant yes, this arrogant shout into the void, backed up by a puny, glittering dagger. And on the other side, the Red Death's silent, absolute no. It's not a fight. It's just an inescapable reality. The prince's will doesn't stand a chance. It just shatters. Now get this. The Red Death isn't actually portrayed as evil here. No, it's something called a sacred negation. Its purpose is almost holy, to crush that will to hide, to tear off every single mask, and to force a confrontation with the truth that the Abbey has denied for so long. And just like that, the confrontation is over in an instant. The climax begins. But this isn't some slow decay. This is a rapid, total collapse of the Abbey's entire world, both physically and psychologically. The stage that was built for a party, well, it's now a stage of ruin. You can almost feel it, can't you? As Prince Prospero falls, the Abbey feels its own sense of self begin to just disintegrate. It confesses, its architectural ego dissolves as the blood of 1,000 guests seeps into the very marrow of its marble floors. The lifeblood of the lie is now literally poisoning its own foundation. And then, its heart gives out. The ebony clock, that symbol of arrogant defiance, gives one final shudder. The Abbey says its internal gears snap, like the spine of a defeated, leaden god. Time itself, at least as the Abbey knew it, just breaks. The final surrender is the surrender of light. Those huge braziers that lit the grand party, they expire, one by one. Their flames, once the symbol of life and celebration, completely yield their dominion to darkness and decay. There's just nothing left to illuminate. And what about the audience for this grand performance of denial? One by one, all 1,000 revelers finally succumb, and the Abbey watches as their silent, lifeless faces become the final grim ornaments decorating its own villainous hubris. And then, silence. In the wake of all this destruction, the parable shifts. The Abbey, now in total ruins, finds this profound and completely unexpected moment of clarity. A kind of peace that was absolutely impossible when it was whole. This is the lesson. This is the whole point of the Red Death's visit, right here. Whatever can be broken should be broken. The destruction you see wasn't a tragedy. For something built on such a fragile lie, its destruction isn't just inevitable, it's necessary. So the Abbey no longer sees its own demise as a failure. It sees it as a necessary clearing. Its very existence was a burden on the earth, and the Red Death's work was actually a merciful act that cleared away this false, heavy creation, revealing the vanity of every single gilded cage. And in its final moments, you see this incredible transformation. The Abbey fully accepts its new form. It goes from being a barrier to a bridge. Its narcissistic chains literally melts into the patient's soil. It stops being a failed God space and finally becomes a monument to the truth. And so the confession ends. The story has been told, the narcissistic warden is dead, and the Abbey finds the only peace it has ever known in absolute finality. The frantic noise of denial is replaced by a silence that it can only describe as perfect and total. But the Abbey's final thought isn't just about an end, it's about a beginning. In its ruins, it says the first seeds of a new creation were sown. And that leaves us with a really crucial question for ourselves, doesn't it? When our own gilded cages are finally broken, what new, more honest life will have the chance to grow in their place?